we were going to have a live feed this morning. So there's a program, but I don't even know if I should bother to hand it out at this point. Because we had so many changes. I want you to all go back and remember, rural Wi-Fi is very challenging.
Yeah.
And you will go to every meeting and you will be like, okay, but what about the people in Western Maryland who, are getting the very end of the dollars that the federal government promised to try to get us some live wires out here. And they're still wiring us, okay? We're on the agenda for 2020 to be finished getting feeds out here, okay? So when we talk about a lot of this stuff within digital health, remember all the people we're leaving behind. I mean, we're near major metropolitan areas like Pittsburgh and DC and Baltimore. Think about people in states like Montana, So we have a huge country. North Dakota. We have a huge country. And there's a whole bunch of people that deal with what we dealt with yesterday every day. Every day is that. Trying to get signal, trying to dial in, trying to utilize telehealth because they live 2 hours from a doctor. But they're using that kind of Wi-Fi. So we have work we've got to do, right?
Yeah.
So we want to honor Casey for all her hard work at trying desperately.
25 years in television, in network television news. I'm used to things going sideways on me, so it's okay.
Yeah. We also honor Dave because his willingness to do his presentation from his hotel room, which is spectacular.
And even got breakfast delivered.
And Casey's a little bit more up on what's going to happen at 9. At 9, are we still doing?
At 9, he's doing a two-way with Lucerne now from 8
right.
to 9. Of him delivering a lecture to this class. And then from 9 to 10, you and Mark and Marianne Sterling, who is still back at the Castleman, will join Dave for a group conversation two-way about patient data access and the importance thereof.
Okay.
For the two-way to Lucerne from 9 to 10.
Okay.
So you're going to disappear, and so are you, from 9 to 10, and then you'll be back.
Excellent. So that's what's going to happen between 9 to 10. And during that time frame, we're going to have Marcia presenting because she had to really compress her speech yesterday. And we wanted to give her a chance to do her full speech. Is Marcia here? She's still at the house. Okay, so she'll be here soon. That's the vision between 9 to 10 is to giving her a chance to give her full speech. I just love when people have an opportunity to have a reel that is their work, because what happens often to me, still to this day, because we still don't have a really functional patient speaker site. The Patient Viewpoint Institute's working on it. We know SpeakerLink worked on it. This seems to have some kind of not ability to happen. Okay, because so what happens is the federal government routinely and big institutions routinely still reach out to me and ask, who should I get for my event? And so it's really important that I know all of you and can throw out names and say, oh, there's this one and this one and this one and this one and this one, and here's their landing page. Yes.
I went on the Walking Gallery Facebook and asked for someone for Datapalooza. That's how I got Erica.
There you go.
I didn't even have to bother you.
Well, it's not bothering. It bothers me. I mean, I really wanted SpeakerLink to work. I really, really wanted SpeakerLink to work. I really worked very, very hard on a long time. And some people will say, Regina, you do everything yourself, and there's a reason for that sometimes, because I gave that baby away, and then we had a complete implosion, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's not useful or accessible. I mean, it's so sad, right?
Yeah.
So I could die, and that would stop me. But really, no, there's nothing else that will stop me. So anyway, still a vision, still working on it. I know Patient Viewpoint Institute it's on their agenda. It's just they're trying to be funded, which is so hard, right? So it's so hard doing all of this if you're not funded. But that's one of the reasons I'm trying to give you guys speeches, right? I want you funded. I want you to have the money to pay your rent, so you can go out and advocate for others. Okay.
Get paid.
Hashtag get paid. So that's one of the reasons we're filming Marsha. I want to make sure Marsha has a speech, because she was saying yesterday that was her first presentation in 18 years.
Wow.
I thought she did awesome too, but I was like, we can make that dress rehearsal, and you can make today where you really, because we have this time, so let's utilize it. The other thing is, let's go through. Okay, so we also decided at 10 o'clock when Marsha finishes, we're gonna move Bev Spiker up in the schedule. She was originally scheduled at 10:30, but we're gonna move Bev to 10, okay? And one of the reasons we're doing that is at 10:30 after Bev finishes, there's gonna be an arts panel in the tent, okay? Arts panel, that's gonna be 10:30, right? Yeah, 10:30. So that's gonna be like Shannon and myself. We need to make sure Angie Central's where she needs to go.
I'll just be early, but.
Yeah. And we're gonna be doing about arts in the community and how you can utilize arts to basically promote the community and promote health. That'll be in the tent. Here will be small group, basically any of you guys who've gotten together and you haven't left yet, and that you wanna talk to each other. This is a warm room that it's not raining in, and we have it reserved till 3 o'clock. Okay, so this is our space. We can use it for whatever we need till 3 o'clock. And the idea is if you want to get together and create a focus group and decide you're going to tackle something, tackle it. If you want to come over and see the artists, there are artists in the tent that we were in last night. There's also artists behind Cornucopia setting up right now. And there's a beer garden and a wine garden. So if people need to crash tonight, you have a big building.
You asked us yesterday to go around to the little artists and...
I did ask everyone please to go visit the artists.
Yeah.
So any artist who sets up today in the rain, they pretty much know they're not going to hardly sell anything.
Yeah, so
But-
it would be good to go and look and see if there was something you liked.
Right,
And
or
take it
at
home.
least grab their cards and support them, because they made the commitment to show up no matter what. Even though they know they're probably not going to sell anything, they're here, right?
Yeah.
So let's try to support them. So even if you do small groups in this room, please go down and visit the artists. We also will have boxed lunches coming up here at 10:30. So, well, I just want to make sure, I know some people are leaving.
Yeah, well, you can take your lunch on the road.
So it's boxed. So the idea is you can take it and eat it, and then, or you could be like a hobbit, and it could be 11sies, And so you've got options, right? So I just want to make sure everybody had a really great time. I just was recently at a conference, and I'm really frustrated. I'm very frustrated, actually, that things we've been talking about for the past 7 years still need to be talked about.
Yep.
Okay? So I did this presentation before the National Committee of Vital and Health Statistics Quality Subcommittee on February 28th, 2012. Okay, so this was prior to Cinder Blocks 1. And when I did this presentation, I was the patient representative, and they had, so many companies there, so many hospitals there. I was going to represent all patients in the world. And so I crowdsourced concerns. I went on Facebook, I went all over the internet. I'm like, people, give it up. What are we worried about? What are the things? So this presentation I thought would be good to touch upon today, because I feel a lot of the things we're still not talking about. Measure for measure. The law hath not been dead, though it hath slept. Daily 25,000 patients are surveyed about their hospital experience.
Daily, wow.
Each day, more than 7,500 patients complete their HCAHPS survey. As of 2013, the total performance, I guess it was 2014 when I did this, sorry. As of 2013, the total performance score for the hospital, the value-based purchasing, will have 2 components. Clinical process domain accounts for 70% of the total performance score. Patient experience domain accounts for 30% of the total performance score. Let's see how that aligns. Alignment is the arrangement or position in a straight line or in parallel lines. 2A, The process of adjusting parts so that they are in proper relative position. A set of gears needs periodic alignments. B, the condition of having parts so adjusted. Binocular lenses that are out of alignment will yield to a double image. My concern is patient experience domain is not aligned with clinical process domain. We are not equal value. We do not have parity. HCAP scores. If this hospital experience was depicted using a child's report card, we would see C's, D's, and F's. See, hospitals, and Ben said this yesterday. I'm sorry he's not with us yesterday. He said it many, many times. He got so angry when people were like, we're 40% successful. Because anybody who comes from education is like, 40% is an F.
Yeah.
That's bad.
The roof was working.
It's like, that's bad. So people have these kind of ratios and they're like proud of it. You're proud that you're getting C's, D's, and F's. You're barely passing. That's what you're proud of. We suck. It's like, if you look at I looked at HCAP scores throughout the state of Maryland. Okay, when hospital.gov came online, there were huge amounts of access to data. And then it went to cms.gov. And if you start watching what's happening, they're taking our data away. The HCAP's results are getting less and less and less. There's not the access. And we need like time back machine, what's it called?
No, Wayback.
Wayback Machine. Wayback Machine shows you websites from the past. Okay? So the way it was, food is here. You might want to come around that way if there's still space. But anyway, Wayback Machine shows you screenshots of the way websites were. I would highly recommend you start comparing things. Because it's frustrated me. As I'm seeing our government that was supposed to be about transparency and made one of the legs of the stool of the Affordable Care Act transparency, making it where we can't see our information. And it's not just personal, it's aggregate data sets. Okay? This is bad, really super bad, guys. And if we don't start making a stink about it, it's only going to get worse. This means the hospital lobbying industry has put such pressure on HHS, Health and Human Services, that they're taking our stuff away. This is the stuff they promised us, okay? So if we can't see HCAP scores, we don't have any kind of scientific metric to help us with, oh, golly, Yelp type services. Like, how are you comparing? Like, I don't just take one source to decide where I'm going to go. I take multiples. That way I know I've got a good vision of how successful is this institution.
Regina, can I ask you a
Yes.
question? Who pays to have the HCAP scores?
Okay, the hospital works with, what's the number one survey company? Press Ganey. Okay, so the hospitals work with Press Ganey. I was just talking to people working with Press Ganey at the Cleveland Clinic event. And I was just sharing how incredibly frustrated I was because they utilized like 300 surveys to make their decision about those scores. They may see hundreds of thousands of patients in the time window, but it's just hundreds that make this score set. And they send out I'm getting probably ahead of myself.
Sorry, I apologize.
Yes, no problem. This is anger-inducing. Okay, if you look, this is how they present the clinical view process measurements in hospitals. So these are clinical, were they giving a vaccine for pneumonia? The clinical standards, right? They're getting A's and B's in that. Now, one of the reasons theoretically they're getting those things is because they have been checking for those longer, okay? Part of it is they know how to make these metrics because they've cared about it. Whereas patient satisfaction is relatively new. You're talking 2005 is when that first started rolling out, okay? So part of it is they don't know how to do it, and the hospital system is ridiculously slow at adopting the new ratios. Okay, ramifications of this divided view. The patient view. This is according to HCAP's handbook from the Studer Group. You're probably familiar with the Studer Group. Patient perception of care is a whole lot more than making sure nurses and doctors are friendly and smiling. It is about saving lives and delivering safe health care. It is about quality in a very real and concrete way. This is The Nature of Suffering by Eric Castle, the clinical view. Diseases, okay, listen up. This is what the clinicians are thinking. Diseases are the real things, the things that count. Symptoms are a second best access to the disease entity, the best being direct views, such as x-rays, tissue examinations, electrocardiograms, and so on. From the same perspective, sick persons as persons are an elaboration of soft data, feelings, emotions, values, beliefs, and these terms not as real as their diseases. Okay? This is the kind of binary that we're dealing with, the horrible divide that we're dealing with. Now, okay, I want to make sure I go back to this then. Okay, so when a doctor is asked about a case, does a case review, that is called a after discharge summary, right? And they usually need to do that within just a couple of days in the old form. The new form is you're supposed to get that after discharge summary when you discharge, right? You're supposed to, that's your notes. That's like, you're going to go home and do this.
Supposed to walk out with it.
Okay, guess when you get your HCAF survey?
Not as much as 90
I
days
just got
later.
6 months later.
Yeah. Okay, so would we ask a doctor to do a review summary 6 months after they saw a patient?
No.
Never, ever would we ask them to do that. We know their memory and recall is very poor at that point, and that patients are asked to do something when their recall is shot and they may be dead. What kind of HCAF survey results you're going to get from a dead person?
Not good one.
Not good. Okay, this I broke my own rules on PowerPoint on this slide. I put way too much words on it, but I was crowdsourcing lots of people's concerns. What measures matter to patients? Patients must be able to access their entire record in a timely fashion and populate it with qualitative as well as clinical data. Patients should be an active part of data capture process from triage to discharge and beyond. They should have patient equivalencies to CPOE and CDS, so clinical decision support and physician order entry. Okay, that means I'm saying patients should be able to amend the electronic medical record.
Whoa.
Patients who are part of a rare disease population should have the right to share their data if they so desire, even if it's not possible to completely de-identify. Okay, this is a major problem in rare disease, guys. If you have a rare disease, you are scrubbed from a data set.
Yeah.
So like my husband in his situation was scrubbed because he had kidney cancer. You will not find him. There's no way to track him because kidney cancer is considered a rare disease. There's a whole bunch of diseases that are considered rare. And they're taken out of data sets just because they could get de-identified. And they never ask us if that's what we want to have happen. So I have to speak for those people, right? And you do too, until we get this changed.
Even some illnesses that are not rare at all are considered rare just so they can do that. Like,
Yeah, scrub them.
I just learned that multiple sclerosis, even though 36 new diagnoses are made every single day, is considered a rare disorder just so that they can do that to people. Yeah.
Right, it's ridiculous. I mean, 70,000 people are diagnosed with kidney cancer every year. That's rare. That's a rare disease. I mean, think about how much data is being pulled out of these sets if that's what you're qualifying to pull it out. Patients with impaired mental health should be able to access and comment in their medical record. Patients with disabilities should have appropriate accommodation to access the medical record and provide feedback. Parents should be asked to actively engage and through electronic medical record while experiencing the pregnancy journey, and children should play an active part in patient education. Errors in care should be fully revealed and greater learning embraced through admitting mistakes, rectifying the care process so events should not occur again. Health literacy should impart a clear understanding of important hygiene practices. Come on, people. We are dying in hospitals from C. diff and MRSA because hygiene in hospitals suck. And people aren't even allowed to know it. They're not even told how dangerous C. diff spores are, or that the entire environment around them is a toxic one.
Yeah.
And that when your immune system's already shot, if you're in a hospital, you're in a very, very dangerous place. Like Pat Masters actually got to the point where she wanted to try to reach out to Clorox to see if they would team with her organization to send Clorox to every hospital room, the wipes. But a lot of people don't even realize you've got to leave that wet in place for 3 minutes to kill most of the materials. But still, if you're dealing with C. diff spores, not going to work. So how do we clean the physical plan of the hospital itself, and how do we inform patients of how dangerous it is before we get to that point? Okay. The reason for patient noncompliance should be addressed in a case-by-case basis. You have all gone to places where people say patients are just noncompliant. You know, they just blanket term us, and they don't look at individual reasons why we're not doing what you tell us to do. A statistically significant autopsy rate must be reinstated. Measures that must be reevaluated as technology changes, and we must guard against the misapplication of law's intent. HIPAA, HIPAA, HIPAA. In the pursuit of data aggregation, the individual voice must not be silenced. Patients must be included in the design and implementation of measures and have a voice within committees such as this one. Okay, we must share the creation of our data sets and compare like to like. What is mine is yours, and what is yours is mine. Condemn the fault, not the actor of it. Currently, patients have limited access to their medical record. In some cases, no access is available until discharge. In a best case scenario, the access consists of labs, imaging reports, discharge summaries, and medical administration records. Rarely does a patient have access to the doctor's progress notes, nurse's progress notes, or medical administration record. Very few patients can add to the medical record in real time, adding either clinical patient-reported data, like quantified self stuff, right? Or the soft subjective data of personal experience. The HCAP surveys are sent to patients 48 hours to 6 weeks post-discharge, so they screwed up on you. Patients are expected to submit the responses based on their memory. Clinical data is set to be provided through Medicare claims data and additional data submissions from the hospital EHR. This data was created in real time using clinical decision support or computerized physician order entry. Providers are not expected to remember events that unfolded up to 6 weeks before and report on them. The demigod authority. The patient portal and clinical decision support for patients. In order to create patient measures that have equal weight compared to clinical measures, patients and caregivers must have access to the tools of data creation and capture. Only then can we attain equal footing. Patients must be part of the active data creation process from triage through the entire episode of care, culminating in a personal, qualitative discharge summary. The miserable have no other medicine but only hope. Many patients are part of an online patient communities and openly share data. Some patients with rare diseases want to share data. Measures should include input from rare disease patients whenever possible. Although concerns exist that a small data pool can lead to the identification of the individual patient, patients should be asked if they would like to be included in such data sets rather than be subject to a default decision of exclusion. Like I was talking to Ross about the fact that Maryland is one of those opt-out states when it comes to data and the health information exchange. I was like, yes. Because if you've got a system that requires people to throw their hand up when they want out, you have very, very few people who do it.
But they, having been in the hospital really recently for an MS episode, they make it really, really, they're like, well, we could cut off your foot or you could be in this study. You know what I mean? Or they like, or we could chop your head off and kill your family or you could be in this study. You know they really.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is like HIPAA. They've used it against us. So then what we got to do is we got to flip things. We got to get the culture shift to happen so that with laws are used the way they're supposed to be, opposed to the way they've been pry-barred to be used in a new way.
Like, it's never like, do you want to be a part of it or not? It's like, we could, like,
Right.
drown your nieces, or you could be in this study. You know what I mean? Or like, you know.
It's horrible. I mean, and they've got you in a position of power. You're often laying down and you're sick, and they're guiding your choices in a way that is very positive for them oftentimes and destructive for us.
Or they're holding the syringe and they're like, well, you really need this and it's $2.15 and we could give it to you or you could be part of it. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, okay, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. I mean, and it's wrong that a patient has to advocate by themselves while they're sick, and unfortunately, all the time, they have to.
Yes.
We must also consider the views of those who have little access to information due to mental health status. Their need for data access is as great, and so is their need for appropriate survey questions. Too many patients cry for solace with no recourse. Pain can be treated in many ways, but the journey starts with recognition of the individual voice. We have a huge problem with mental health in this country. You had the best tweet yesterday. Your comment, it was amazing, about prisons are our solution for mental health, right?
That was fantastic.
Okay, I mean, everybody's saying to me, Regina, you're doing too much. Okay? They say this to me all the time, and I'm doing too much because these are the steps that are needed to develop enough of a base to run for Congress and change these damn laws. Okay? We have got to address mental health. We have got to address disability. We have got to address medical access. And we have absolutely no advocate in the federal government that is an elected office that is advocating for us. Okay? So we've got to work so hard to make this happen. And what I'm just looking for you is spread the word, get the energy out, get people focused, because we are at this tipping point, and a lot of people don't seem to understand it. I mean, the reason adolescents love dystopian fiction right now is they're prepping for their adult life.
Yeah.
Okay? Our whole world is getting ready to fall apart, and people aren't even noticing it. You guys are. You're here, right? But there's a whole bunch of people binge watching Netflix and not paying attention. And they're not paying attention to the whole system is dysfunctional and it's hurting people.
It's not even their fault when you're raised in such a system and when you're used to everything falling apart. You're like, oh, this is what happens. Things fall apart, you know?
I was raised in that system and I refuse to accept it.
Me too.
It's like, we can make a difference in this world. We can make this world a good society that is supportive of individuals, that helps people, that laws aren't twisted. But what it has to happen is we've got to stand up.
Yeah.
The system is not broken. It was built this
That
way.
yeah.
And we have met the system, and it is us. We must fight together or we are doomed and damned.
Let's
Yes.
do something more, more real
Regina,
than just tweeting.
let me address this mental health thing briefly, but
Well, I know we all do.
as far as federal elected officials advocating for mental health, some of them are bought off by propaganda groups that are basically drilling false info to the elected officials. So do not vote for the Murphy bill. Do not let your elected official support the Murphy bill. It has specific language in it that destroys existing patient advocacy groups and very specifically targeting the patient advocacy.
Is somebody tweeting that? Somebody tweeting what she's saying? I hope somebody's tweeting it.
Yeah,
The
well,
Murphy bill,
do we know, well, I'll
the
figure out
Murphy
what.
Can
law.
someone that's not me tweet that?
Yeah, I mean, you
No, I
can.
can do that. I'll do some research. I'll figure
Okay,
out what
well, I mean, you can always cite
the.
Karina. That's the way you tweet. You can cite the person. It's not you that said it. I mean, it's one of those things that I'm really worried. Okay, private prisons are a major money maker in this world, in this country. Okay, they have a way they make money, and that is putting people in them. So it's really good for them if people commit crimes and go back to jail, and it's really good if we don't have any kind of mental health system in this country, so we can keep imprisoning people who should not be in prison. And they're making money off of it. And then once those when people get out of prison, guess what? They cannot find a place to live or a job. Either one of those things. There are so many people in this town who have no place to live. They are homeless. Maybe they're couch surfing. They are homeless because Garrett Land and the other one won't take them because somebody in their family committed a crime. And they won't kick their spouse out. That's the solution, okay, guys? Kick the dad out, kick the mom out, put them on the street. You can live here then. But if you will not kick out your own loved one, you're out.
Yeah, you gotta tear your family apart.
You gotta tear your family apart to have a place to live. How is this acceptable?
Very Republican of them, alright?
Yeah, I mean, this is so frustrating. And we've got to solve it, okay? So please research the Murphy bill. Thank you so much for saying that. I'm really worried. People need help. I have an autistic son. He did not come to the meeting. He just said the crowds are too much. But I have to, just like the Black Lives Matter moms, I have to talk with him about if you see a police officer, what you do not do. Do not run. Do not avert your eyes. Do not have a freak out.
Is he black?
No, he's autistic. Autistic kids get killed all the time by police officers because they don't understand how to respond. And just like our black friends were taught a culture that often makes them, when they're with police officers, if they're not told point blank, do not do these things, they're going to get killed too. You know, so so they don't get killed. They go to jail. Our wonderful children go to jail. And then what happens to them? They get injured. My sister's a social worker in Oklahoma, and she works with Adult Protective Services. She basically takes your grandma out of your house because you're abusing her, or your adult child who's disabled. Well, they have a Marshall Islanders population there, okay? Marshall Islanders have the right to come to the United States, but they do not have the right to health care. So when they come here, they can come. They're basically a territory. We put military bases on their island, and the agreement is they can come here to work.
But they can't get help.
But they can't get health care. They got to pay for it out of pocket. They're not allowed to get health care.
And if they work, they have a social security number that they get, and they have to pay into social security, but they cannot get the benefits.
They cannot get the benefits, okay? So we had a Marshall Islander family where, of course, the parents are working multiple jobs. They have a 20-year-old son. He's at home, and he decides to go to the grocery store to get a bag of chips. Unfortunately, he has no money. Adult with autism, right? Goes and gets a bag of chips. The clerk immediately starts to yell at him. He walks outside with a bag of chips. Now he's shoplifting, 75 cents. So he goes in the parking lot, and then the police are called. So the police call, and he won't respond. So he tries to run away. They grab him, pin him to the ground. He, of course, starts resisting because... Yeah, this is a bag of chips.
Yeah.
Starts resisting, gets injured. They take him to the police station. They decide they've injured him so badly he actually has to go to the hospital. Goes to the hospital. The judge looks at the case and keeps him in custody. And do you want to know why?
Because it's chips.
Because he
If
can't
somebody
get
was injured?
healthcare.
You can't pay for his health because
He can't get healthcare.
He can't get health care. The judge keeps him in jail so he can get all of his injuries fixed from his arrest.
Regina, I have a personal experience of this, because half the people getting shot by cops are mental health people too. But I myself my friend died by suicide, and I was struggling with this psychotic episode, and I was riding my bike around town and hanging out on this overlook watching the river, and a train cop came along, and I had a fight with him, and I'm a Olympic judo athlete. I do know how to fight, and I won that fight from a martial arts perspective, but I lost it from a legal, financial, personal, and spent the night in jail, and they wouldn't give me my psych meds, and I was in cold turkey withdrawal, and had a really big freak out, and
Yeah, this is what happens, okay?
Yeah, no, that's
So like my non-medicated son, because we try to do behavioral approaches to deal with his autism and his high anxiety disorder, if he were hospitalized, they'd immediately put him on Haldol,
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
okay? That would be the reality. I mean, and he would be completely resistant because he does not like drugs in his system, right? So they put him in restraints and Haldol. Okay, that's the world.
Can I just tell you something?
Yes,
When I was in Seattle, I used to work at Nordstrom, and that's a high shoplifting store.
yes,
And they used to be like, just let him go.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get shot. You don't want to get beat up. Just let him walk out. You don't want any conflict.
I mean, I once did body block somebody at the toy store, I gotta tell you. I mean, well, it was very anger-inducing because she had like 2 whole bags of action figures, and she was gonna take them, and I wasn't gonna allow that to happen. But it is usually not a good idea to body block a person who's stealing from you. It's usually a better
Because you
idea.
could get shot. And
You can get shot.
And no one
It's
else
just
gets
like
shot.
sometimes
Unless the cops come.
anger is really hard to
Well,
control.
and the
isn't
lady,
it?
and I quote you, my supervisor, why should you mess up your hair over some, like, silky dress?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
Well, the problem is she was a serial shoplifter at our store, and she never came back. She never came back. Okay, so this is my son Freddie, who has autism, in this painting of 73 cents. So if you ever go to 73 cents in Washington, D.C., that's him. He is an eyeball in a door crack. Okay? And my point with that is that he does not feel part of the conversation. And we've got to change that. This is Todd Park's jacket in the walking gallery. He was the White House Chief Technology Officer. That's Andre Blackman in the walking gallery. Haste still pays haste, and leisure answers leisure. Like doth quit like, and measure still for measure. Measure should encourage data capture at the beginnings of a patient's journey. At the birth of a child, many parents are fully engaged in a healthcare process, and they should be included in survey questions that apply their unique experience. Further, this window of time can create a parent who is empowered in their healthcare choices, as well as teaching the young to be empowered as well. At the beginning of the child's healthcare journey, they are open to fully embracing the ownership of their personal health. We must reach out to such young ones and include them as well. If a child can write, they can take part in the building of their patient story. So Todd Park in the Walking Gallery. I was very glad when he finally joined us. And he basically told the story of his daughter's heart surgery and his story. And his story is always his positive story. And there isn't a jacket hardly in the Walking Gallery, there's a negative one underneath. And he's not ready to tell that one yet. He was the White House Chief Technology Officer working for the Obama administration, and he feels uncomfortable talking about the negative parts that happen. Okay? Can you get more empowered? This is a dad who works in health technology who helped found Athena Health, and a mom who is a doctor, and they have a child, and they do not feel that they can talk about the bad things that happen. How can regular people have a voice if they can't?
So I think you can go back to the picture of your son, the little crack, and that's all he. Everyone feels that way.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I mean, they made everyone feel that way. No one.
Joe Biden feels that way, and that
Yeah.
was the
But he started outing himself.
Yeah, and he told that story on the stage at Datapalooza.
And I thank God for that.
Everyone feels that way.
They say best men are molded out of fault, and for most become much more the better for being a little bad. Okay? Patients want to partner with their providers in the creation of a medical record. Such patient access allows errors of miscommunication to be corrected in a timely fashion. We all make mistakes with an episode of care, but it is a fool who refuses to learn from the mistakes. Often mistakes we make sear a cognitive path within our mind, and we learn lifelong lessons if we address our failings. Okay? We are not talking about the bad stuff. And we're definitely not talking about it as a national picture, and we're not aggregating it. And that's the most horrific thing happening right now in healthcare. Patients who reported their room and bathroom are always clean. How do we define clean? How does that differ from disinfected? Should we be asking if the staff always wash their hands? Has the patient been informed about the dangers of hospital-acquired infections? This is one of my favorite paintings. It's one of my favorite paintings because that's Fred. And he's right there, and I got him, and I got him in the eyes. And Joan can barely look at this picture because he's there. And he's there in a painting that's about this preschool student has a lunch pail on top of a toilet. And he's like, in total disgust because a preschool student knows we do not eat off a toilet, yet this nurse is putting a feeding tray on a bedside tray table, which is used for incontinent bedding changes all the time. And is not disinfected because it cannot be. There's no way that table with pressed wood board and a rubber bumper can ever be disinfected. It's not physically possible. It's not antimicrobial steel, and it's copper, and it's not stainless steel. Those would be the only surfaces that could be disinfected from C. diff.
Yeah.
That's physical plant change. That's changing a hospital physically, and we have got to do this. Some rise by sin, and some by virtue fall. Patients are not compliant is the refrain echoed in medical practice and conferences. With one stroke of the brush, whole populations are painted with scarlet shame. Measures should reflect both populations and personal choice. If patients are non-compliant, we must discern the barriers that the patient faces in their journey to better health or their journey to a peaceful death. Measurement cannot exist unless access is open and transparent, and this transparency must continue into the end. In order to provide necessary data for evidence-based medicine, we must reinstate statistically significant autopsy rates. In the United States, hospital autopsy rates of 60% in the 1950s fell to 12% in the early 1990s and less than 5% in non-teaching hospitals. Private autopsy services begin at $2,000. And are far out of reach of most consumers. In addition, studies find that there is disagreement between pre- and post-mortem diagnosis in 30% of cases. Right now, the autopsy rate in this country is 2%. There are pathology students graduating with a pathology degree who have never actually touched a corpse in autopsy.
How's that possible?
Because in criminal cases, a student may not touch the body of an autopsy victim.
What?
They can watch, they cannot touch, they cannot participate because it's a criminal case. And most of the autopsy cases right now, the 2%, are criminal.
Yeah.
Okay? So we're graduating people that do not have even the base knowledge to do their jobs. Now most of the pathology students are actually going into cancer, right? They're doing pathology for cancer study. We have almost no one going into being the person who does autopsies. The old guard of men who've been doing this for years, because it's mostly men, I gotta tell you.
Forensic pathology is what, that's,
Yeah. So they're really worried because no one's graduating in. No one's taking their jobs. Your county coroner can be a veterinarian, okay? Your county coroner can be a OBGYN. Ross Martin, who's not practiced in 25 years, could do your autopsy, okay?
And there are some jurisdictions
This is America.
where you don't even have to be an MD.
Right, there's some
No, not even a DVM, not even a science background.
Right. I mean, this is the thing. It depends where you live. Like, and so that's why private autopsy exists, right? Like 1-800-AUTOPSY. And the gentleman who created that company, I talked with him on the phone,
That's
Vidal
a real
Herrera.
thing?
That's a real thing. 1-800-AUTOPSY. You want to know who did Michael Jackson's? Do you want to know who did Michael Jackson's autopsy? 1-800-AUTOPSY. Okay? It costs $50,000. If you want an autopsy for the fact you're going to sue somebody, that's going to cost you $15,000 and it must be paid in cash. Okay, you've got to have upfront $15,000 in cash. If you want a level of autopsy to rule everything out, because this is a serious case like Michael Jackson or celebrity like Prince, that's a $50,000 autopsy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Can a nurse do an autopsy?
Many kinds of people can do an autopsy, but what kind of information are you trying to get out of the autopsy? Like, I wanted my husband to have an autopsy. I wanted to find out what kind of kidney cancer he had. While he was alive, this was impossible to determine because where his cancer was placed, there's a very good chance it could kill him faster if they tried to get a biopsy. They got a bone biopsy, and all it narrowed it down to was my husband had kidney cancer.
And you knew
Okay.
that.
Pardon?
And you knew that.
I knew that. So which type? Because there's genetic kidney cancer that would pass to my sons. I want to know this because Fred's maternal grandfather died around the age of 40 complaining of back pain. My husband died at the age of 39 and one of his major first symptoms was back pain. That makes me worry. Makes me worry, is this a genetic cancer? But I don't know. Because when I called 1-800-AUTOPSY, they didn't return my phone calls. And you have a very short window. And one of the reasons I reached out to Vidal was like, what's going on? He's like, well, 1-800-AUTOPSY is also a franchise. So when you called the number, you got Florida.
Keeps getting worse.
And when you got Florida, they decided you were in Maryland and they could care less about you. Because you're too far away. And they dropped you. I'm in California. I would have come. But I didn't get your call. It went to Florida because you're on the East Coast. Okay?
And you're paying $15,000 and they can't take a flight.
Right. So this is the world, okay, guys? And I was at the Cleveland Clinic just last week, and I sat by one of the people running Cleveland Clinic, and he completely poo-pawed the idea of autopsy. Oh, we don't need autopsies anymore. That's old science. They don't prove anything anymore. And my response was, how could they when you're only doing them in 2% of cases? I think he really rapidly did want to sit by me anymore. But this is something to take away. How do we have any kind of evidence-based medicine in this country if we never check the final answer? We are never comparing the final result. And everything that you hear about who's dying and what, it's guesswork. We must not make a scarecrow of the law, setting it up to fear the birds of prey, and let it keep one shape till custom make their perch and not their terror. We must consistently reevaluate the measures we are using to determine they are still assuring the quality of care in patient populations. For all too often, the law is twisted to bend to serve a new purpose. Legislation designed to allow for openness and access can become the legislation of restraint. It is our duty as patients and providers to support the original intent of quality measures and constantly updating the means. One is not enough. A core measure of meaningful use was we were supposed to be able to access the record, and they said nobody even bothered to ask. How do you even know that? You had no data capture method to find out if people did ask. And then as you moved on to meaningful use, you said since no one was bothering to ask, no one was bothering to get on portals, so we can just accept one patient, an entire facility, Cleveland Clinic, who sees hundreds of thousands of patients, could take one patient, one, and say that that was sufficient to prove their portals work and they're useful.
If you're donating your body to science, what are you doing exactly?
When you donate your body to science, you're giving medical students an opportunity to learn on a body, which is really important because like 2 years ago, somebody found a ligament in the knee nobody knew about. I mean, it's like, it's you are doing a service, and I plan to do that service as well. You're giving, but I will tell you, everyone who's planning to donate your body to science, you need to go on a diet, okay? You do. You need to get thin as possible before you die, because you really make it hard on your student if you are fat.
If they have to drive through all that adipose
Well,
tissue, yeah.
It's really bad. It's really bad on the student, and it makes their life miserable. So they hate all of us. I'm gonna join Jazzercise. I'm dedicated. I will be a good cadaver. So this is something to keep in mind. Laws get twisted. HIPAA got twisted. They're going to keep trying to twist it. There is a letter from the Office for Civil Rights that was written in, 2011, by Peter Levin, and it says that you should have access to your medical record. This is a wonderful letter. I highly recommend everybody know about it. Print it out. When you're trying to get your medical record and they're giving you we're not going to give it to you? Yeah. You hand them that letter. It's like, okay, just making sure you know that the Office for Civil Rights, who judged millions of dollars against PG County's public hospital because they denied a patient access to their medical record, they're going to take my case on. So are you sure you want to go down this road? And all of a sudden, most medical records suddenly became available. Oh, it is excellent to have a giant strength, but it is tyrannous to use it as a giant. Like our database of measurement grows, we will be able to apply the principles of evidence-based medicine to large patient populations, ensuring more appropriate care. But it shall matter most to our little ones as they reap the benefits of wisdom from those that have gone before. And reward will be greatest if, whilst helping the multitudes, we focus on the individual. Let patients speak. We must encourage every committee, subcommittee, hospital board to actively recruit and include patients in every aspect of their care process, from design to implementation to resolution. Nothing about us without us, from the exam room to the boardroom.
Yep.
Thank you. And this is why it's important.
That's right.
And that is what I'm going to wrap up with. This thing's on SlideShare. It's my most downloaded SlideShare. And that's great.
Is it a PowerPoint?
It's PowerPoint.
Can you email it to me?
Well, the easiest way for you to get it is SlideShare.
SlideShare.
You just download.
Google Regina Holliday slideshow.
See, all my decks are
SlideShare.net.
open share,
Yeah.
but it's hard to email decks full of pictures
Yep.
because the data file's too large. So I try to host most of my stuff on SlideShare because all you gotta do is push download.
SlideShare. My computer's being an asshole, that's the thing, so.
That's okay.
Well, you-
Just send an email to me and I'll get it to you. We don't need to put anything else. I'll get it to you later. We don't want to put anything
Yeah,
else
it's
on
just
the-
one of those things that if you have lots of pictures, it's really complicated and you gotta use Dropbox and it's really complicated, but SlideShare makes life
It's
easier.
open for everybody to
SlideShare is like
access.
YouTube
It's
for
free.
PowerPoint.
Right.
Yep.
They work with LinkedIn now, so it's become even easier.
That is exactly
Any quick question before I have to head to Dave?
No, thank you, Regina.
Yeah, yay.